everybody. Well, you've finished up Unit 1, and now we are working toward Unit 2. So I wanted to start off this week's announcement with the questions to a couple of questions that were on the Jamboard. The first question was about APA formatting. So APA is a way of referencing. It's the American Psychological Association's way of referencing so that you're able to check resources and find more information about resources as you are researching. And every year, the APA Association changes or reviews their editions. So they've included a lot of things about bias-free language. They've included taking out URLs. They have changed a lot of different little things over the years. So what the biggest thing is, if you've learned APA 6, there used to be a running head on the title page. They've taken that away in the 7th edition. So right now, what we're working in is the 7th edition. So if you are used to APA from a few years back, it has absolutely changed. And that's one of the reasons why I made sure that I assigned the APA module for you before you had to do your APA skills assessment, which we'll talk about in a second. One thing that I did notice with the APA that I wanted to make sure that we all knew changed as well is there are no more retrieval statements. That was one of the things that I noticed a lot on the APA skills assessment. We do not do retrieve from any longer, okay? So that's one of the biggest changes as well between APA 6 and APA 7. The other question is one I can't really answer. That's one that I was hoping that maybe you guys would all kind of take the bait on and maybe help each other out. And it was, has anyone else felt that the source by Aaron Donnelly was very vague and not a lot of evidence? And if that's something that you felt to be the case, and that's something that you really definitely need to be discussing in your critical analysis essay. Okay, so let's get into what's going on this week. All right. First things first, I have your Jamboard set up for week 4. If you want to go through the different items and then post your questions on the Jamboard by Tuesday, September 21st, so that I can get a video out for you guys and answer your questions. All right, the next 2 items, items 2 and 3, are actually excuse me, the next 3 items, 2, 3, and 4, are all having to do with grammar. So if you've noticed, we've had something to do with grammar for the past 4 weeks, and we split it up so that you're able to really go through each of those pages accordingly. This week, you are finishing up grammar with usage, and usage is essentially when we look at the page. When we look at usage is when you are looking at commonly confused words. So words like there, and there, accept and except. I'm trying to think of all the others, but you get the idea. There is a PowerPoint there for you. There is a short video, and then you have practices to complete. The next thing that you'll do is then you will go over the pronouns, bias-free language, mechanics, and usage notes that you took as you've been working over the past 4 weeks. I just want you to refresh your memory, and in order to take the practice quiz that is due by 11:59 on Tuesday, okay? I want you to take that quiz by Tuesday so that if in case there is anything that you are unsure of, 1, you can ask me questions about it, okay? And 2, you can start to get help with the tutoring center or with me so that you're able to pinpoint those problem areas for your first grammar quiz, which will be due by 11:59 on Sunday, okay? The grammar quiz is tricky. I will absolutely let you know. It is absolutely tricky. It is an hour long, okay? And it is, I'll show you really quickly, it is 100% multiple choice, but you really need to make sure that you have your notes there with you so that you're able to answer the questions accordingly. It is an open book open notes quiz, but I will warn you ahead of time, guys. Do not wait till the last minute to look at that grammar stuff because, again, those questions get really nitty-gritty, so you need to know where to look for the information. Okay, next part is the APA Skills Assessment. Last week, you guys turned in the APA Skills Assessment. I went over all of them on Wednesday. All of the grades have been posted. Everybody, I think, has a 1 out of 25 right now, which is just a placeholder. The 1 means that you turned it in on time and that you have comments there in order to create an additional attempt. So go ahead through. You can play the APA title page game to help you kind of refresh your memory. You can use the Writing Center to help you. You can use each other to help you to go back into those APA guides to really make sure that you get it right. Remember, this is an all or nothing assessment, so you can go back and forth with me as many times as you like up until September 28th. So just keep turning in those attempts, keep working on it, keep looking in those resources, keep looking at the hints, and keep turning in those assessments. Do not give up, guys. I will tell you that those 25 points can be a difference between an A and a B and a C, a C and an F. So really make sure that you're working on that and using your resources. All right, next up, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all about the Career Exploration Report. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to revisit the Career Exploration Guidelines. I assigned those a couple weeks ago, but we've done a lot since. So I want you to go back through the guidelines to make sure that you're understanding what we're doing for this upcoming essay. You will be using your interview, which is coming up in the next week, as a source, as well as the Occupational Outlook Handbook by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, okay? So we're going to be working on that in the next 2 weeks. This is bold and in a box and in big format, big font, because I want you guys to really think about your interview that's coming up this week. The Career Exploration Report is going to go over different categories that you create, okay? Different areas of focus that you would like to learn about for your career, okay? The interview that's coming up, however, is not going to be a write-up of your interview questions. It's not going to be a write-up of the interview itself. I want you to understand that the interview that you are conducting is not about the person, okay? It's not about why the person's in the field or would they do it again. It's about the job. So you are absolutely using your interview as a source to gather information about things like, work-life balance, about what does a day in the life of the job look like, okay? You want to gather information about the job itself. What are the pros and cons of the job? What are the benefits of the job? You don't want to ask about salary. There are other things that you don't want to ask about, but you will be then going to the How to Conduct the Interview Categories page, okay? So that's next on your list. I want you to go over all items on this page. You have a whole area of instruction about what an interview should and should not look like. You have a web page that I want you to look at, a video about how to create open-ended questions for your interview. You have a discussion board that you will be working on this week, an interview questions worksheet that you will be reviewing, okay? I also gave you a little video here. This one's about 4 minutes that helps you also kind of think about how to conduct an interview and what your questions should look like. You have also a little document here to give you a sample of what kinds of questions you should be looking for and should be asking with your interviewee. Okay? So you'll go over that page, and then you are going to brainstorm with your classmates some categories in the interview categories brainstorm discussion board. Now, these are just brainstorming ideas. I want to see where you're headed with your thought process so that I can give you guys some feedback on categories and open-ended questions, okay? This discussion board, essentially, you can do as many categories as you like. You must have at least 2 categories that you brainstorm and think about for your interview, and a couple of questions that you might put under those categories. Make sure that you read your classmates' responses, post some replies, maybe brainstorm some more questions. This is a way that you can be interactive and start really thinking of ideas of what you want to ask about, okay? Things that you may not have already thought of, things that may trigger some other categories that you might want to learn about in your interview. And then start brainstorming together, start working together on some of these questions that you may want to think about, okay? That interview categories brainstorm is due Tuesday by midnight so that I can start giving you guys some feedback, okay? Now, the last thing that is due is your interview questions worksheet, okay? And that is there for you so that you can make sure that you give your interviewee information there. And I want you guys to create 4 to 6 categories. I'd like to see all 6 categories really created here because the more that you think it through, the better off you are. You may not be including all of those categories in your actual essay, but I would like to see 6 categories brainstormed here, okay? The first category must be communication, all right? But you will come up with 2 questions underneath communication. Then you will brainstorm another category. So maybe technology. And a question might be, how do you use technology in your everyday work life? What are some advancements in technology that you've seen in your field over the years? Then you go to the next category that you will be discussing in your interview. Okay, and so on and so forth with 2 questions underneath each of the categories until you have filled out all 6 of the categories. Okay, you will then submit that document to the submission folder by Sunday, September 26th, so that you can then complete your interview the week of, I have it up here, the week between September 29th and October 5th. October 5th is your very last day to conduct your interview, okay? I gave you guys the dates of September 29th and October 5th so that I can look over your interview questions, and in case you need to revise them, you can do so with my help before you go on the interview. I don't want you guys to go on an interview with questions that are not going to help you, that may not be professional, and that may not be considered a really good source for your upcoming career exploration report. Okay? So that's everything, guys. Again, a little bit of a long weekly overview, but I really want to make sure you guys know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the goals for each of these assignments. So this week is really that focus on that first quiz for grammar and really focusing on that how to conduct an interview page. There's a lot in there, guys, so manage your time wisely so that you are really thinking about what kinds of questions you want to ask your interviewee to really use them as a source to learn about the position, not the person, the position that you are going for in your career, okay? Now, one last tip, guys. If you have not posted your interviewee information on the discussion board, it was due on Sunday, get on it, all right? You want to make sure that you are respecting the time of your interviewee. by really talking to them in advance and setting up the interview in advance. Okay, plan for about 30 minutes at the least, an hour at the most for your interview. But if you have not posted that information, you really need to make that your number one priority. Okay. All right, guys, have an awesome week. Contact me if you need to. Make sure you're posting on the Jamboard so that I can get your questions answered in a timely manner. And have some fun with your interview, guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing what your sources come up with. All right, talk to you soon.